Dee dee doo 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 na doo 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 doo. So it says we're live. I am going to take it that we are. So let me read the press release from Turn 10 Studios when it comes to the huge tentpole franchise that is now third party and a PlayStation franchise. It says the Horizon Festival welcomes a new community of players. With nearly 900 cars available in the game, over 40 thematic game updates, 2 expansions, and so much more content, our team is excited to announce that this spring, PlayStation 5 players will be able to explore Mexico's beautiful roads and experience the Horizon Festival for the first time, as we are officially launching Forza Horizon 5 on PlayStation 5. The PlayStation 5 version of Forza Horizon 5, developed by Panic Button in partnership with Turn 10 Studios and Playground Games, will have the same content as the Xbox and PC release of the game. Previously released car packs, as well as the Hot Wheels and Rally Adventure expansions, will also be available for purchase. So that content isn't available in the singular release on PlayStation 5. That game's coming, but all the extra expansions you're going to have to purchase separately. That's important. We are excited to see the Forza Horizon 5 community grow with new players on PlayStation 5, and we can't wait to see the creativity and skill these new creators, builders, and racers will bring to our vibrant community. In addition to bringing Forza Horizon 5 to PlayStation 5, we're working on a special new free content update for all platforms, Horizon Realms. Realms will give players the chance to explore a curated collection of some of the community's favorite previously released evolving worlds, alongside some other surprises. Stay tuned to our channel, Turn 10's channel, and Playground Games channel for more details soon. You can wishlist Forza Horizon 5 on the PlayStation Store today to stay informed about updates and release times. If you already own the game on another platform like Xbox, share the news with your friends in the PlayStation 5 community and tell them to get ready to join your convoys, as crossplay will be available for all Forza Horizon 5 players across Xbox consoles, PCs, and PlayStation 5s. We look forward to welcoming new players to the Horizon Festival, and we are sure Forza Horizon 5 veterans will share their experiences, tips, and tricks to make beginners feel right at home as they start their adventures. Join the official Forza Discord server to connect with other players. Follow on Instagram and X accounts to stay in the loop. And sign up for our newsletter to get more details about Forza Horizon 5's release on PlayStation 5 and all things Forza. Whether you are adventuring through Forza Horizon 5's Mexico on Xbox, PC, or PlayStation 5, we look forward to racing alongside all at the Horizon Festival this spring. So there's been tons of people talking about the Tentpole, Halo Gears Forza. It used to be like something people would say to throw a shot at Xbox. All they have is Forza, Gears, and Halo. And for a long time, that's all there was. Another Halo game, another Forza game, another Gears game. And then here we are in 2025. They had that developer direct. They showed a ton of first party games coming out. And most of those games are probably going to go to PlayStation 5 as well as PC. So what does this mean? Well, let's start with the glass half full version. So Forza Horizon 5 is a 4-year-old game. Man, I had some chicken wings. Oof. 4-year-old game, pretty much live service game, needs a lot of players. When it first came out, I love the Forza Horizon series. I think it's fantastic. I had a lot of fun playing it. There's tons of things to do in that game. If you've never played this game and you only have a PlayStation 5, you're going to be treated to probably the best racing game that you've ever played. I know you're going to scream about the Sim Racer Gran Turismo, and that's fine. That's there. You can play that too. But for my money, Forza Horizon was always the best franchise when it came to just giving you a beautiful world, beautiful cars, and literally, like, you're on a road and you see a mountain 15 miles away. Well, you can drive to the top of that mountain if you want to. You don't have to stay on the road. You can go off road. You can go anywhere in this world with your friends or by yourself. There's a ton of additional content. The Hot Wheels stuff is incredible. The game needs players. So, of course, it could either, like other older games that are exclusive to PlayStation, languish, sit around, make its money, and then just not make any more money, just sit there and be exclusive. Or years later, you can re-incentivize you can re-incentivize people who haven't played it or people who have played it to jump back into it. So all of the PlayStation 5 gamers who purchase the game will probably draw more people on Xbox who've played the game in the past and own it to jump back in, crossplay, all that stuff. So that's great. They're going to make tons more money, and they're going to charge for the additional content just like they did with Xbox originally. Now all that stuff is on Game Pass. So there's that. There's a lot of games that need more players. There's a lot of games that have been around for a long time that just have languished, right? I mean, it doesn't make sense for a game that involves a bunch of players to come out and then 4 years later just hang around and do nothing. I don't know anybody who's running out and buying an Xbox for Forza Horizon 5. I don't know anybody who's running out to buy an Xbox in general, but certainly putting that game on PlayStation makes sense. But there's the other stuff. There's the single player stuff like Indiana Jones, Avowed, Fable, the next Gears E-Day. I firmly believe these games will come to PlayStation, if not day and date. And I think they should, because clearly Microsoft wants this. This idea that they hold on to stuff for 6 months, that's not them. So I think eventually all this stuff's going to come to PlayStation day and date. But I also think that Sony is going to put their games on PC day and date. And they're already sort of pushing that when it comes to live service games like Helldivers 2. You're seeing Spider-Man 2 launched yesterday. The idea of waiting a while just really doesn't make sense anymore, especially if they're going to spend all this money on these games like $200, $300, $400 million. It just doesn't make any sense. Now, are they ever going to put games on another platform? That's the big rub. I don't think so. I don't think they're going to do that. I could be wrong. I do think if they stay making all these, really big AAA games and throwing them into a subscription service or throwing them on the PlayStation 5, I'm not sure that they can keep doing that, but it looks like they can. Here's the rub. I think Game Pass is fantastic. I really do. I don't know anybody who objectively can look at that. Like, just take the last, I think, week and a half. You've got Ninja Gaiden Black, which is $50. You've got Eternal Strange, which is $40. By the way, Eternal Strange is a fantastic game to launch into Game Pass. I don't know how. They probably spent a fortune on that. So you've got a $50 game, you've got a $40 game, and then you have the game. God, I'm going to forget the game. So you had Eternal Strands, you had Ninja Gaiden, you had, oh Jesus, I can't believe I'm going to forget this. There's something like a $200 value in 4 games that launched into Game Pass within the last week and a half. Now, you can purchase all of those games on Xbox. You can purchase all of those games on PlayStation. What you can't do on PlayStation is subscribe to a service to save $200 to play these games. Now, you might say, well, that's not important. But I think, objectively, that's a great value. And I think Microsoft thinks that Game Pass as an exclusive feature is a great value driver. And I can't argue against it. But here's the problem, right? There's reality. The reality is that even with the cross saves and even with all of the games that drop into their day and date, saving you tons of money, giving you access to games that other people have to pay $70 for. Again, Microsoft sees that as an exclusive driver for people on Xbox. Even with all of those things, the reality is that most consumers don't care. They just do not care. If they did, then Game Pass would be doing much better than it is on console. They talk about it growing on PC, but they don't really give us any numbers. So you have to go where the consumers are going. And even though I absolutely agree that all of the stuff that they're doing with Game Pass and the games that drop in there, their first party is humming, that developer direct was incredible. I don't think most consumers care. And the reason for that is the actual numbers. People just don't want to purchase Xboxes. They just don't. Now, does that mean that Microsoft isn't going to make another Xbox? That's possible. And I know Phil Spencer has said, we're working on we're working on more hardware, we're working on a handheld, we're doing all this stuff. But Phil Spencer has said a lot of stuff. Phil Spencer said only 4 games. Phil Spencer said, please don't see it as a sign that everything is coming, because it isn't. When asked about Starfield and Indiana Jones being 2 of the games going to PlayStation, he said, no, they are not. So the idea of, saying one thing, doing another is definitely something that I feel most people who are playing on Xbox should be used to when it comes to Philip C. Spencer. I'm baffled by the idea that Game Pass and the value that it presents isn't something that more consumers see as beneficial to them. Now, I don't know if that's a product of Microsoft not being able to communicate that idea in a really, really cool way to people, or it's just people don't care, because they just clearly don't. You look at when the PlayStation 5 Pro launched, I think they sold like 4 million consoles in a month, which is crazy. Now, is Microsoft going to make a ton of money? Well, you look at December, they were the #1 games publisher anywhere in the world, beating everyone. PlayStation, EA, Ubisoft, everybody combined, they just made tons of money. 65%, I think, or 64% of the total spending on PlayStation was PlayStation gamers spending money on Xbox games. Now, there's 2 ways to look at that, right? There's a way of, we're getting your games and we're buying them, and there's no need to buy an Xbox, but you're also subsidizing the cost of what Microsoft is doing. So if you hate Xbox and you hate Xbox games and you don't like Game Pass, well, what you really should do is not purchase any of these games, because ultimately you're feeding that beast. And I think Microsoft wants that. Now, what does that mean for an Xbox gamer? I guess they keep Game Pass around for a while longer. I guess they use that money to sort of offset the cost of doing first party games. Maybe they use some of that money to fund third party games deals going into Game Pass. There's a ton of ways to look at it, but the bottom line is that if the console isn't selling, then that is a drag on everything else. So when you talk about costs, and Microsoft has to do this stuff because games cost so much, they need these games to make as much money as possible in as many places as possible. Then you look at PlayStation, and they're spending tons of money on first party games when they ever come out. I mean, Intergalactic, Ghost of Yotai, who knows when those hit, but those are going to cost a ton of money. How do they offset the cost of those? Well, they've got a console that's selling. They've got another console that's $700 that's sold. So they're recouping costs in that way. They're pulling in revenue in that way, where Microsoft isn't. So Microsoft decides to go full third party to offset the cost. They've already gone to PC. They've already gone to Xbox, and now they're going to PlayStation. What it says is that the Xbox hardware, and I know that Phil Spencer has said there's more coming, but I'm just somebody who's looking at this from the point of view of, I've been around a long time. I've lived through the Sega fiasco. I've lived through Sega of America and Sega of Japan being complete morons with each other. I've lived through, a 32X when a Saturn was already released in Japan, and people are scratching their heads. Why did I buy a 32-bit add-on if there's a 32-bit system in Japan? And then like a month later, the 32-bit system is in America, and you're sitting there looking at the 32X saying, what the hell is wrong with this company? And then a Sega CD, and you're like, well, wait a second, why not just make a CD-based system? And then, of course, here comes the Dreamcast. I knew that they were in trouble. I knew that the Dreamcast would probably be the last Sega console. You just felt it. Now, Sega doesn't have the money that I don't know if the chat's working. Let me see if the chat's working. You let me know if this worked. Yeah. So I don't know if I lost my train of thought. So I don't know if that's working for them, right? Having games everywhere, having a console that doesn't sell, subsidizing the cost of development of the console. Megatron, what's up, sir? How you doing? Subsidizing the cost of the console because the console doesn't make money. It's such a high end device, and Sony and Microsoft chase this high end, these components, and it's why you have to have the system sell in addition to have your software sell. So when you look at that, I think it was like 2% growth for Game Pass. A lot of the drag on that is the cost of the console and the fact that it isn't selling. I'm not very what's the word I'm looking for? If I was putting money on, if I'm in Vegas and they have like this game where you bet if Microsoft is going to have a console next generation, or if they're going to release something that's kind of like a console and maybe it just doesn't sell well at all, I wouldn't put money on that at all. I just am not confident. And I'm certainly not confident in buying anything else digitally. I buy most of my games digitally, except for Nintendo, but that's completely different. I definitely have stopped purchasing anything digitally on my Xbox because I have well over, I think it's like 2,000 digital games. It's crazy. And I'm not sure those games are going to be safe. Now, there's talk that the Xbox is going to do some kind of hybrid thing and the games are going to go to PC so your games would be safe. Well, look, if they release a box and it's an Xbox and it's easy to use, if I don't have to sniff Windows at all, because I'll throw it out the window, um, and I could just, click a button and go into some other store and my games are there and I can play them, or I can play someone else's games that are on PC, like PlayStation. I don't know how that's going to happen. I cannot see PlayStation allowing that because ultimately, when you say, all these games are on PlayStation, like Forza Horizon, like Halo, because that's coming, like Gears, because that's coming, like Indiana Jones, like Fable, like Perfect Dark. If all those games are on PlayStation, then why in the world would PlayStation allow the games they put on PC to be funneled back to whatever it is Microsoft's doing? I don't know if they can stop that because right now, if you own a PC, you can do it. So if Microsoft figures that out, maybe there's some legality to it. I don't know, but if they figure it out, then it seems like a pretty compelling offering. But here again is the problem: Game Pass, and I can't remember these fucking four games. It was Eternal Strands, it was Ninja Gaiden Black, it was Sniper Elite Resistance, and there was one more, but all of those games together, this is just within 2 weeks of Game Pass drops. All of those games together, if you were to purchase them all. Now you have to know that you like these games to spend the money on them to begin with. Because if you don't and you spend the money, you're screwed, right? I hate that when I see a game, I'm like, ooh, I want to play that. I purchase it and I'm like, this game sucks. I'm out of luck. With Game Pass, right? You get $200 just in those 2 weeks, in addition to everything else that's in there for the $20. So all of that value, that exclusive feature, because Game Pass is the exclusive, right? All of that stuff that I agree with, I think it is absolutely incredible. But all of that stuff, nobody seems to care about beyond the 28 to maybe 31 million people who've purchased an Xbox. Now, 30 million consoles sold is nothing to sneeze at. Here's something else to consider. Let's say out of that 30 million, 20 million are subscribed to Game Pass. And let's say that those 20 million people pay $5 a month, because I know if you say $20 a month, people say, well, you don't have to pay $20 a month. There's all kinds of deals. Or some people say, I pay $10 a month. Let's go really low. Let's say at least $5 a month for that 20 million people, right? So that's $100 million a month in revenue. I'm not sure that Microsoft would throw that away. I don't know. Maybe they would. I don't know. I can't imagine a situation where they would say, let's get rid of, at least, it's probably more, but like at least conservatively, let's throw away $100 million a month. I have to make sure that that's correct because it's going to drive me crazy. All right. So we got 20. Yeah. I don't know why I did that. So I don't know if they're going to throw away $100 million a month and get rid of the console, but again, I don't know. I just don't know. I don't think that Xbox is going to have this huge presence again next generation when it comes to a launch and a console. Get Lost Games says getting the new Tokyo Extreme Racer 2025 tomorrow. I'm so excited. It will be the first game I purchased since Helldivers 2. Yeah, most people are. When you say purchased, you mean physically, digitally? Um, or are you somebody who plays games through a subscription service? I don't understand what you mean there. The first game I purchased since Helldivers 2. Again, Helldivers 2, right? A live service game needs a lot of players. You would kind of question as to why that game is going to stay locked to one platform. Like over the next couple of years, as players decrease, wouldn't it make sense, just like Forza Horizon 5, 4 years later, to find a new audience somewhere else? I completely agree with that. I think that makes absolute sense. Why not dig up something that's made you money that isn't making you money anymore and put it somewhere where it's going to make you more money? Essentially, they've taken something that's old and it's brand new again for an audience that never touched it. That makes sense to me. But I feel like it's still a problem that most people just don't care about any of these games when they're on Xbox. They just will not play these games because they're on Xbox. But as soon as they come somewhere else, like a PlayStation or a Switch, you're seeing a ton of excitement around these titles. Now, some of that are like prepubescent 40 and 50-year-old men who have some sort of addiction to social media and strangers affirming their bias. But for the most part, it seems like there are a lot of people who want to play the games that Microsoft has. It's just that they just don't want to buy an Xbox. Get Lost Game says digital purchase PC. I'm 43. I don't play a lot of new games. This is exciting. I have an RTX 4070 and I don't play games for graphics. Yeah, I mean, I come from a generation where graphics aren't that big of a deal. I used to think slowdown was something they put in the game intentionally when you were at a hard part in the game to help you get through it. That's the extent of my tech knowledge back then. But graphics really aren't that big of a deal. That's the problem, though, right? When you look at Sony and Microsoft, they have to spend so much money to push the high end when it comes to graphics. That's why these games need to find different ways to make money. Sony maybe, Sony maybe is able to offset that by selling a lot more consoles than their competitors. And maybe their first party games sell better than other people's first party games. But with the report of Spider-Man 2 being outsold by Helldivers 2, and the fact that it's on PC, and the fact that there are a lot of games that Sony has created first party wise that aren't really lighting the world on fire when it comes to a 70 million, probably more than that, base of consumer who purchased a PlayStation 5. So primarily third parties are making tons of money on the PlayStation 5, which they always have. PlayStation, whether or not you like this or not, primarily people buy a PlayStation or even an Xbox for third party games. That's the driver. Those are the things that most people get excited about. And you can take your time with first party, not as much time as Sony's taking right now, which is insane. But again, I have to go back to, tons of value with Game Pass, incredible savings. And here's the thing, right? Microsoft is so bad at communicating their strengths that I sit here as somebody who's not in the industry. I haven't worked in the industry. I don't work for Microsoft. I'm not an influencer. I don't have a huge channel. I basically, no one really listens to anything I say, which is fine. It's like being married. um, but they have Game Pass. And you can still purchase video games. That's the thing that I think is lost on people. Just because Game Pass exists doesn't mean you can't purchase these games on the Xbox. You can purchase them even at a discount if you're subscribed to Game Pass. So if you have Game Pass, you don't have to spend $70 while the other people do. Or you spend less than $70 if you want to purchase them because you have that subscription service. And every game you purchase, you can stream to any device. I hate streaming, but that's a feature that some people seem to think is going to be bigger in the future. And your cross saves go everywhere. So you play a game on your Xbox, well, the save goes to the PC. Try doing that with Spider-Man 2. You have to purchase it on PlayStation 5 and play it there. If you want your save file on the PC, well, forget that. You got to buy another copy of Spider-Man 2 on the PC. So all of these things are incredibly valuable But at the end of the day, they're only as valuable as the consumers think they are. And most consumers, in the face of all of the things that I've listed when it comes to Xbox and the things that I would think would help them a little bit more, um, people just don't care. They do not care. People don't care that you don't have to spend $60 for Sniper Elite Resistance. People don't care that you don't have to spend $40 for Eternal Strands. People don't care that you don't have to spend $50 for Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. People just do not care. So, at what point does all of this stuff collapse in on itself? I don't know. I have no idea. I know there's people out there throwing out the Dreamcast vibes, but it's a little different. For one, Sega didn't have a $3 trillion market cap. I don't think anybody could weather what's happening with Xbox other than Microsoft. But I still think that the safe bet is to make no bet. It really is. If I had to bet on what would be the more popular system next generation, PlayStation 6 or whatever Xbox is doing, probably PlayStation 6. If I had to bet on which games would come day and date to PlayStation 6, it would be every single Xbox first party title going forward. If I had to bet on whose subscription service would probably be more successful, it's already PlayStation Plus. They're at 40 something million subscribers to Xboxes. I think the last time they gave a number, it was 24 million. And that's the rub, right? And I don't mean this as a shot. But if Xbox went away, if Xbox exited hardware, and the day after Sony announced a tiered subscription service to PlayStation Plus, and you got all of their back catalogs from PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3 in there, and you got day and date Sony first party titles, people would absolutely love it. That's just a fact. So there's a lot of that Xbox tax that Microsoft is responsible for the most part, because of the things that they've done in the past, the things that they didn't do in the past, the lack of communication. But consumers just don't seem to care about what Microsoft is offering. The strengths that Microsoft sees in Game Pass as the exclusive driver of hardware isn't what anybody else sees in the industry in terms of people who go out with money in their hand and say, I want that box off the shelf. It's a PlayStation. Get Lost Games says Game Pass is great for PC. Tons of games. The new releases are not very good, though. Many black female protagonist games. A lot of woke. If you can get past that, there's some fun there, I think. Well, you know, I try not to touch that topic, but I do understand what you mean about some of the stuff that's pushed into games. I'm fine with uh, protagonists that are female, but I get where you're coming from. Um, you just avoid that stuff. It's hard to avoid it, right? Look at it. Look what happened with Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed Shadows, right? I mean, it kind of looks like a great game. Um, some of the mechanics look good. I went through this with Star Wars Outlaws, right? Star Wars Outlaws got a ton of push against it for being woke. And the female protagonist, or she looks ugly, and the model that they use is beautiful, and they changed her to make her look like a bug or something like that. But, I took a chance on it because it was set between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. And for me, the classic trilogy is the best trilogy. And I'm so glad that I did, because it's one of my favorite games that released this year. It absolutely is, or last year. It is just a phenomenal game. I know people dog on it. I know they show clips of when it launched, it was terrible, but I had nothing but a good time with that game. So sometimes you have to sort of like rise above the noise, but I do get what you're talking about. I think South of Midnight looks fantastic. I love that art style. I have no problem with the main protagonist. I love the stop motion animation. It reminds me of, like, if you're really old, there were movies like Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, and they used stop motion animation in that for all the creatures. And that was just an incredible film. I love that style. So I'm looking forward to that. But ultimately, I feel like, at the end of the day, I don't think 30 million consoles is anything to sneeze at. I certainly don't think at the low end, right? The lowest of the low end, $100 million a month is something that Microsoft would throw away. And maybe they would, right? Maybe Game Pass sort of just implodes in on itself and it morphs into something else. I don't know, but when you look at the big subscription services, everybody likes to talk about the Netflix of gaming. You look at Hulu, you look at Disney Plus, Amazon, Peacock, Paramount Plus. You look at all of these streaming services. The one key takeaway is that none of them actually produce a physical piece of hardware because that would be such a cost driver on them that it just wouldn't make any sense. So I'm not sure what the next Xbox is going to be. DJ Suth says, so tell me, what will be the point in buying an Xbox in the near future? Before long, Halo and Gears of War will be on PlayStation 2. Halo, Gears of War, everything is going to be on PlayStation. Every single Microsoft first party title is going to be on PlayStation. I'll tell you what they think the point is to buy an Xbox as a piece of hardware, and that's access to Game Pass. If you're not a PC player, then you have to buy an Xbox console to subscribe to Game Pass. To them, all of those games that you just mentioned that are going to come to PlayStation, you're going to have to, one, know that you're going to love all of those games because you've got to pay full price for them. To Microsoft, Xbox Game Pass is the exclusive. I'm not saying it's working. I've said consumers don't care about it, but to them, that is what they would tell you, DJ Sooth. Get Lost Games says, they aren't creating new characters or franchises, even with new consoles coming soon. God forbid I ask for a console with a physical copy box in and with a physical. Well, I mean, look, it's 2025. There's no more manuals and boxes. And as far as physical boxes are concerned, you can still buy physical. It's just, again, right? We're talking about what consumers have decided when it comes to Xbox versus the reality of what they're offering, which is valuable. Consumers don't care. Physical media, consumers don't care. They've chosen digital. There's nothing we can do about consumers not wanting the value proposition of Game Pass, and there's nothing we can do about consumers not wanting physical games because clearly they don't. DJ Sooth says, but Game Pass subscribers are predominantly Xbox console owners. No one else cares about the subscription service. If Xbox hardware dies, and it will, the way things are going, Game Pass will die. Well, Game Pass growth, for the most part, comes from PC. So it's going to live on PC. It's going to be a subscription service just like EA Play or Ubisoft Plus. It's never going to go away. It's just going to be everywhere. If hardware dies, if Xbox hardware dies, it's going to be much easier for the platform holders like Sony and Nintendo to say, yes, we'll allow Game Pass on our platform. Much of the reason why they don't is because Microsoft's still selling a box and they just don't want it. PlayStation doesn't have a problem with EA Play. PlayStation doesn't have a problem with Ubisoft Plus. I don't think they'd have a problem with Game Pass if Microsoft was just a third-party publisher. But ultimately, again, it comes down to what people are choosing, and they're not choosing Xboxes. So as popular as Xbox is with the main core group of people who really enjoy it, and I'm one of them, I really enjoy Xbox, and I've come around to the idea of Game Pass. I absolutely have. But I'm also not, 14 years old. I understand that most people in the industry that are buying video game consoles, I was going to say video games and video game consoles don't care. They don't care. If they did, then they would be buying Xboxes and subscribing to Game Pass. So that's either a failure at Microsoft to communicate the idea of this value proposition in the ecosystem, or people know all about it and they just don't care. I don't know why the thumbs up happened. When I put my thumbs up, this camera does like a thumbs up. I have no idea. Maybe somebody else did it. I don't know. Get Lost Game says, okay, fine then. If purchasing isn't owning, then well, listen. Piracy is stealing. This is a silly argument when it comes to physical and digital, and purchasing isn't owning. I mean, your digital is digital, physical is physical. Stealing a game is stealing a game. That's the PC thing. I'm not a PC gamer. I'm not interested in taking anything from a developer. I'm interested in either, with Game Pass, Microsoft is paying these developers money to put their games in there, and then you pay Microsoft, or you purchase the game. That's where I come from. Not a piracy guy. DJ Sooth says that's not correct though. Phil Spencer has admitted 90% of Game Pass subs are console based. There isn't any growth. Well, the last I think it was 2 days ago, their financial statement, most of the growth came from PC. I think it was a pretty big number. So I think less of the growth now is on console. They've sort of maxed out on console, and that's the big rub here. If you can't sell more consoles, then you can't have more people to subscribe to Game Pass on console. PC is this infinite number of people that are going to flow in and out of Game Pass, I guess, forever. 1 month they're in, 1 month they're out, maybe 2 months they're in, 1 month they're out, 4 months they're in, 2 months they're out. But with console, it's flat because they've only hit around, I think, 30 million consoles. And out of that 30 million, let's say half are subscribed to Game Pass. This is why I did these really conservative numbers. So half, 15 million, and let's say they all pay $5 a month, even though, they're probably paying more. Still a big chunk of change for them to lose a month, $100 million a month. Seems like something crazy to throw away. But out of that revenue for Game Pass monthly, how much has to go into the cost of producing hardware that nobody buys and games that conceivably now most people aren't buying because they're in a subscription service. And you have to hope that PlayStation people buy these games, which I don't know, are they? Maybe. The reception to the games that nobody ever wanted because they were Xbox games is now pretty positive. So we'll see. Get Lost Games. How many times have you literally paid Nintendo for Super Mario Brothers? Every time they come out with one. I mean, it's Nintendo. Nintendo, though, is not the same as Sony and Microsoft. The relationship that Nintendo has to cost in the industry is infinitely different than the relationship that Sony and Microsoft have set themselves up in when it comes to cost in the industry. They're the ones chasing the high-end components for consoles. They're the one chasing $300-400 million AAA games. That's why you're seeing PC day and date slowly becoming a thing for PlayStation. And that's why you're seeing with the advent of no sales of Xbox consoles, Microsoft going full in third party with PC day and date and PlayStation. Nintendo, completely different relationship to cost. It doesn't ever make any sense to compare Nintendo to what Sony and Microsoft are doing. Yes, they're in the industry. Yes, they make games, but they're as different as, an electric car company versus, a diesel maker for like a truck or something like that. Completely different costs. DJ Sooth says the other issue is a lot of people who sub to Game Pass did so via Microsoft Rewards scheme. Is that like it's a nefarious thing? Now that has been decimated, many people, well, I mean, I don't know what you mean about the Microsoft Rewards program being decimated. It's still a thing. I actually just sign into the Xbox app on the phone, and every day you sign in, you get points added to your account. So I think I'm at like a $10 gift card right now worth of points. And the more you use it, the more you get. So it's still a thing. It's actually one of the best things that they have going for them when it comes to returning money to you for staying in the ecosystem. But again, no one cares, right? Nobody cares about Game Pass. Nobody cares about the value of Game Pass. Nobody cares that you get a discount if you want to actually purchase games on the Xbox, which you still can. Nobody cares about cloud saves going anywhere. Nobody cares that you have to buy 2 copies of a game to play them on PlayStation 5 or a PC. With Xbox, just one. Nobody cares about every game you purchase being able to be cloud streamed to any device. Nobody cares about all of these features. Microsoft thinks that those are going to be exclusive value drivers to the hardware, minus exclusive games. But no one else in the industry, in terms of consumers, seems to care about that. That's my point. It's like talking about Google. They have infinite money on PC. You are free to generate. Yeah, I mean, they do have infinite money. I mean, nobody would be able to weather this storm except Microsoft with their $3 trillion market cap. It just wouldn't happen. DJ Sooth, it still exists, but it has been nerfed heavily. It's harder to pay for GPU monthly via the reward scheme now. I have no idea. Well, I mean, I don't know if you're buying a GPU with rewards points. For me, it's gotten better. I get more rewards points, and I generate more ability to create gift cards to pay for, like Game Pass is paid for with rewards. Again, I don't know how that's going to work into the future. I don't know if that's something that obviously it's not a value driver, but who knows? No repurchases. Okay, GPU, Game Pass Ultimate. Okay, so you were saying been nerfed, but it hasn't really been nerfed. I don't understand what you mean nerfed. I turn it like if I go into the Xbox app, like right now, as soon as I sign into it, it gives me points, and then I can go into my let me see, where is it? Yeah, so right now I have 9,505 points, and I have a mobile streak of opening the app 2 days in a row. That gives me enough for a $10 Xbox gift card, half the price of Game Pass Ultimate. Now, if I keep doing that, Game Pass Ultimate is paid for. Again, not a reason to buy an Xbox, not a reason to use the Xbox, but it's something. DJ Sleuth, a year ago, I could earn 25,000 points a month. Now in the UK, I get approximately 9,000. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not in the UK. The world's screwed up, but maybe it's something in the UK. I have no idea. No idea. For me, it hasn't really changed that much, but I don't really use it that much either. So, but when I do use it, I get a ton of points. Get Lost Gaming agrees with you. DJ Sleuth, a significant portion of the people subbed to Game Pass Ultimate did so purely via Microsoft Rewards. These people will disappear within the next year or two. I don't know. I mean, it's possible. I have no idea. The last number was 24 million. Conservatively, let's go really low. That's $100 million a month. Do they give that up? Do they get rid of consoles and risk losing those people? They have to think maybe that next generation, whatever an Xbox is, the same people who are here now with Xbox Series X's and S's will go to the next Xbox. That's the big rub. I'm not sure that's going to happen. I think it's going to be the least selling Xbox of all time. There's talk of them even having it like buying an Xbox through distributors. The new Surface, for instance, you cannot purchase it. It's only sold to businesses. So, like a regular consumer walking in off the street can't buy the next Surface. Only businesses can buy. I don't know how big the demand is in businesses for Surface devices, but I have no idea what they're doing. Like I said, if I had to bet, you have a digital library. You've got tons of games on your Xbox Series X right now. You're subscribed to Game Pass. Keep rolling with it. Enjoy it. Like I said, Sniper Elite's there. All these games drop. They're really good games. Eternal Strange is one of the best games I played so far. It's incredible this year. And it's in Game Pass. But I wouldn't purchase anything and tie it to the digital library. But when it comes to Xbox, I just don't trust it. And clearly people want to purchase PlayStations to play Xbox games and PlayStation games and third-party games. They're the Apple of the video game industry, and they just purchase PlayStation. So Microsoft, there's nothing they can do about it, and I certainly don't think a console that isn't selling is going to help them. Like I said, it's a spooky time for Xbox. I wouldn't bet on them, and I certainly wouldn't say keep buying things. Let me get to the chat here. Get Lost Games says, emulating games on Switch in 4K and connected to online in my PC. Well, listen, brother, you can do that, right? I'm a purist. I am not stealing anything from Nintendo. To me, they're my childhood. I have no problem giving them money for their games, and I've never been a PC gamer. It's just not going to happen. Xbox, DJ Sleuth, Xbox is dead out with the US, Canada. Xbox is dead out with the US, Canada. You mean in the US and Canada? I mean, Xbox is pretty dead everywhere. DJ Sleuth, I do feel sorry for the people who have been with Xbox since the beginning. They have no choice but to stay to access their game library. Well, I mean, pretty much that's the same situation for anybody. If you've been with PlayStation since the beginning, you can't access your digital library unless you're on a PlayStation. Here's something else, right? When you talk about the value proposition, all of my PlayStation 3 games are gone. PlayStation just doesn't care about the PlayStation 3 generation. You can't even play these games natively on a PlayStation 5. You have to stream these games, which nobody really wants to do. There's so many additive features of the Xbox, like the backwards compatibility, like physical discs just working, all of these things that I honestly believe are value drivers for the Xbox. But the reality is, again, that just because they're value drivers doesn't mean that they're going to drive value, because most consumers don't care. They want a PlayStation. That's the reality that Microsoft is in. There's no other choice for them but to put everything they do on a PlayStation, and there might be no other choice for them but to stop making hardware because that drag in cost versus the revenue that they're going to make being the top publisher in the world might not be something that people, especially shareholders, want to see anymore. Which is why I say enjoy your Xbox, enjoy your Game Pass, enjoy those games if you're there, but don't purchase anything digitally and tie it to your account because I don't feel like, all of that stuff in the cloud on a PC is preserving a library for me or for anybody who's a console only gamer. Because if there's no console, I'm not going to PC to play my library. I'm not streaming it to a phone or a tablet. I'm just going over the PlayStation. That's what I do. I have a PlayStation now. I'm playing No Man's Sky. By the way, No Man's Sky's new update is incredible. It's incredible. This game is everything Starfield should have been. Just a sense of exploration. There's a mode called creative mode where you just get everything. You don't have to worry about, mining. You don't have to worry about pretty much doing all the little work in between. You just have everything and you just exist. That's incredible. Going out, flying out of a planet, through the atmosphere, into space, back to another planet, warping. It's incredible. Looks even better. Having a great time with that on the PlayStation 5. DJ Sooth says, agreed. I stopped buying anything on Xbox a year ago. I sold my Series X and now use PC and Switch. DJ Sleuth again, Xbox is especially dead in EU, UK, Asia, etc. No marketing, virtually no sales. DJ Sleuth again, totally. No Man's Sky update is phenomenal and it's free. Yeah, been playing that this morning actually. And, as I'm playing it, I'm thinking, why in the world? Because this game existed before Starfield came out, right? And we're talking about all these procedurally generated worlds and how in the world could they have seen No Man's Sky? Just the one aspect of flying in your ship, flying through the atmosphere of a planet, landing on the planet, getting out, all in real time, no load screens, exploring, doing things, seeing things, hopping back in, flying back up through the atmosphere into space, warping to another star system. How did they see all of that and think, yeah, the load screens aren't a big deal? I don't know. I just don't. And Starfield at this point, I mean, are people playing it still? But I do think it's funny when you see Xbox games that nobody ever wanted or Xbox games that were always just garbage games. All of a sudden now people are super excited to not only play them, but to purchase them at full price. Again, it baffles me that they have so many things that are actual, tangible, exclusive value drivers. Like an exclusive game isn't valuable to you at all. It's just an exclusive game. It's not giving you anything in terms of like cost saving, but Game Pass does. Buying games at a discount because of the sub does. And the reality is, I keep going back to this because I don't want to be one of these people that just keeps talking about Xbox and all this positive stuff and how it's going to be great. All of these things exist. All of these bullet points are positives. All of these bullet points are exclusive features that you can enjoy. But guess what? The video game market, the people who go out and buy consoles and video games, they don't care. They don't care. It's either Microsoft can't communicate it well or they just don't care and they want to buy PlayStations. That's the situation Xbox is in. That's the situation that if you're a hardcore Xbox fan, you're in. DJ Sleuth, not me. I had fun with Starfield, but I have no desire to replay it or the DLC. I played the DLC. It was not very good. Technically, it's a mess and about a decade behind other studios. I worry about the future. Yeah, you know what? That's the thing. Elder Scrolls, man. God, I love Elder Scrolls. I put so much time into Elder Scrolls on the Xbox 360, Oblivion, and Skyrim. I put so much time into these games. I love these games so much, but I hope that Todd Howard and his warped sense of procedurally generating everything now doesn't destroy what makes Elder Scrolls great. I really, really hope so, because that series just needs to be great. There's an Oblivion remake happening. Wasn't announced yet, but supposedly that's coming and will drop into Game Pass day one, or you can purchase it on a PlayStation. But see, stuff like that. Oh man, I'm burping up these chicken wings. Stuff like that, like, I know I'm gonna wanna buy Elder Scrolls. I know I'm gonna wanna buy Fallout. I know I'm gonna wanna buy Gears E-Day. I know I'm gonna wanna buy Perfect Dark. So, do I just purchase them on PlayStation 5? Are they just gonna be better because they're asking full price? That's something else too. You see a lot of these games that come out in Game Pass, and then later on, they come out full price on PlayStation, and they just look better, they perform better, and I think there's something to asking people to pay full price, and they know that they just can't release these games in any state. I don't know, man. It's a spooky time. I've seen some people like, there's some hardcore PlayStation YouTubers who are now thinking about subscribing to Game Pass. So I don't know. It seems like there's this. I don't want to say like things are going to change, but it feels like more people are at least thinking about it. But then you've got the horrible hardware sales numbers, and I don't know how you sustain that. Maybe they have some plan for that. I don't know. Maybe there's some sort of partnership with Steam like they're talking about. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. DJ Sleuth, they need a new game engine. Yes, they should not have gone with the creation engine for Starfield. Absolutely not. I mean, I was playing Starfield last week and I downloaded some of the mods, the Star Wars mods. Before I downloaded the mods, I'm playing just the base game and still so much slowdown in some parts. I mean, just I've never seen that kind of slowdown in a modern AAA game at all. And I still see it in Starfield. I just don't. I cannot understand why they're happy with releasing it like that and not even updating it now. But they are stuck in 2012 on the tech side. No innovation since Skyrim. I loved Skyrim. God, I want to go back and play Skyrim. That's another thing. I have all of my save files on the Xbox, so everything I did in Skyrim years ago is still there. Again, one of those additive features that just isn't there on the PlayStation at all. PlayStation 3 games gone, and yet the reality is no one cares, Microsoft. Nobody cares about the features that you have. Nobody cares about Game Pass being a value driver. No one cares. So the reality is Microsoft is a third-party publisher. Microsoft will probably be the most successful third-party publisher. Microsoft in the next few quarters will probably make a lot more money with their first-party games than Sony ever will. But the reality of that is that without PlayStation, that wouldn't happen for Microsoft. So that pretty much ensures the future of whatever it is PlayStation is doing and may pretty much ensure a future where Xbox decides that, well, we only made 20% this month, but if we didn't have to spend to create hardware, we would have made 40% or even more. And that's the future that I think is coming when it comes to Microsoft and the Xbox brand. DJ Sleuth, these are good things to the Xbox ecosystem. Social functions are better than on PlayStation. Absolutely. Cross saves, play, back and pat. But DJ Sleuth, no one cares. Nobody cares. If they did, these value drivers would be value drivers. People would stick in the ecosystem. People would come to the ecosystem. And it's just not a sticky ecosystem, even with all these valuable things that are exclusive to it, other than video games. Right. They don't care enough. They don't care enough. Get Lost Games. It's all online. Not good. Everything's online. There's nothing we can do about it. Like I said, people have decided there's nothing you can do. At the end of the day, I'm not sure about the future of Xbox. I definitely think Forza Horizon 5 is one of the best racing games ever. I had a ton of fun with that game. And I'd be interested to see, they're gonna launch it on PlayStation 5. It's probably gonna look great, probably gonna have dual sense features built into the controller, and it's probably gonna be very, very successful the way Sea of Thieves was. And it is a 4-year-old game, so I know that people are upset because it's going to PlayStation. It is a 4-year-old game. It makes sense to do that, but the big issue is it's a tentpole game. Halo, Gears, Forza. Once Halo drops, once Gears drops, I mean, what is the value proposition for Xbox? It's all the things that I talked about, but it's also things that people just don't seem to care about. They just don't. DJ Sleuth, quit sobbering watching all the people on my Xbox friends list slowly disappear to permanently offline. Get Lost Games. What games are PS5 that make you want one? Honestly, I'll be honest with you. I'm not a big fan of Neil Druckmann and Naughty Dog today. I'm more of a Jason Rubin Naughty Dog fan, and Andy Gavin and Amy Hennig Naughty Dog fan. So, I wasn't a huge fan of Last of Us 2. Beautiful game, looks amazing graphically. It's one of the best looking games graphically, but I just found it to be a little insane. Um, Other than that, I think Ghost of Tsushima was one of my favorite games. So they can still do it. It just takes them a long time to release these games, which is why you're seeing Microsoft do things to adjust costs, right? It can't take 5.5 years for Naughty Dog to make one PlayStation 5 game, but that's the reality of the situation right now. Naughty Dog has not made any PlayStation 5 games yet at all. Neither has Sucker Punch. They've all been built on the PlayStation 4 and remastered and remade on the PlayStation 5. Naughty Dog's first game will be Intergalactic. Sucker Punch's first game will be Ghost of Yotai, which is a sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, PS4. So if you're on a PlayStation 4, you got to wait a long, long, long time for these exclusives to come out. And once they come out, how long do they have to make money before the next generation? Which is why Yoshida said in the interview that you have to buy remakes and remasters to fund investment in new IP. Again, they're in a bit of a pickle too when it comes to offsetting the cost of all these games, but they have the high end console that's selling. Is that enough? I don't know. It does feel like most people just don't care about Xbox and they're going to go PlayStation. DJ Sleuth. Yep. Old Naughty Dog was good. Druckmann is a hack. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Neil Druckmann at all. He just seems to be less about fun video games and more about just preaching to people. I'm not a big fan of that. Get Lost Game says, I'm asking what is it that makes someone want a PlayStation 5? You know, honestly, I think it's just in the past, PlayStation's done a great job in cultivating relationships with third parties. Most of the games that people identify as PlayStation games, if you really look at them, they're third-party games like Metal Gear Solid. There's tons of games you can go through. Just look at Astrobot, right? All of the robots that Astrobot saves that look like characters from other games, 99% of those games, those characters in Astrobot are third-party games, but people just associate them with PlayStation. That's the strength of PlayStation. PlayStation is Apple. People will just buy an iPhone. It's just where they are right now, which is why they can take so long. They can have such a huge gap between offering anything first party wise, which they haven't in a while. And it's why, you look at Microsoft giving them Xbox games and people are excited. People are going to play them. People are going to buy them. That's the rub. Microsoft just didn't become the brand that PlayStation did when it was time to do that. And there's a whole host of reasons for that. You can go back and you can look at Ed Freeze, why he walked away from Xbox when he figured out that they weren't building up a first party portfolio the way that Nintendo did. He wanted that to happen. Microsoft didn't want that to happen. There's a whole lot of, backseat driving that you can do when it comes to the Xbox brand and why it isn't the PlayStation brand. But at the end of the day, people want PlayStations. That's just a fact. Whether or not you agree with it or not is just irrelevant. Herd mentality. Everyone has a PS5, so follow the tribe. They do have better first party single player IPs too, in my opinion. Yeah. I mean, herd mentality is a thing, but I think they earned it. I mean, I wouldn't say it's like Nike, right? When you think of sneakers, when I think of a sneaker, the name Nike pops into my head. Why? Is Nike the best sneaker today? I'm sure there's a brand out there that makes a better shoe than Nike, but most people are going to think Nike because Nike did the work when they had to do the work to drive the brand. It's just the way it is. Get Lost Games. Bot talk is the same talk as Little Big Planet. Yeah, well, I don't think Little Big Planet won Game of the Year. I don't think Astrobot should have won Game of the Year, but what are you going to do? DJ Sleuth, quite ironic that this gen PlayStation has a lack of first party games, but they will profit from Xbox games coming to their system to fill the gap, right? But it's really not ironic because that's PlayStation. PlayStation managed to create a great system. They managed to attract great creators to do things exclusively on their systems over the years. And they also made great exclusive games over the year. Third parties make the most money when it comes to being on a console on PlayStation. That's not by accident. They did the work. Microsoft didn't. That's the situation that they're in. Whether or not that's enough to keep PlayStation exclusive games off of other consoles, we'll see. It's certainly not enough to keep PlayStation exclusive games off of the PC. Their games will be day and date with PC, absolutely. But when it comes to Xbox's future as a console, I'm really not sure. I'm really not sure. If they come out with a system that is a hybrid that just nails the experience, the UI is flawless, it's simple. You hit a button and you're in Steam downloading PlayStation games to your system, and then you swap back to the Xbox UI. If they can pull that off, maybe maybe people decide this is more valuable to me than just buying a box that's closed off to everything else. Maybe that forces Sony in a way to change a bit. I don't know. But if I had to bet right now, I wouldn't put money on the Xbox hardware next generation. That's just where I am. So that's an hour. Get Lost Game says they will continue to do what they do. Will you the real question is, will you buy the games? Well, you don't have to buy the games because they're on Game Pass. PlayStation gamers, it looks like they're going to purchase these games full price, subsidize the cost of Game Pass. Maybe that's enough. I don't know. Maybe in the same way selling a bunch of consoles is enough for Sony, selling a bunch of software on PlayStation 5 at full price would be enough for Xbox. Don't know. DJ Sleuth, I think the next Xbox hardware will be their last. Hope hybrid handheld is already saturated. Saturated market. I got you. GTA. I don't think GTA 6. They didn't say it's $100 yet. That's a rumor. That's a whole nother discussion. When I was a kid, games were 80 and $90. So this is one of the only markets where the cost of things hasn't adjusted for inflation. You can't say you want GTA 6 to have every graphical technique, every motion capture, voiceover, ray tracing, everything, but you don't want to spend any more than $70. It's just something has to give. It just has to. Zelda will be 100. Nah, Nintendo is completely different, man. If you take Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, you add their development budgets up, the money they spent to create those games, they don't come to half of what it cost to do Intergalactic or even to do The Last of Us 2. It's just, they don't need to have that game be $100. Yeah. I'll bet you $100. Easy. I mean, easy. I know Nintendo. I talk to people at Nintendo. It's not going to be $100. It's just not. Their relationship to cost is completely different than Microsoft's and Sony's. It's a mistake to take the market and apply it to Nintendo. They create hardware that's weathered, which means that they don't go after high-end components. So that's why people complain about the Switch, right? It's got a mobile processor in it. Who would buy that? Well, it's profitable day one, and every game that they sell is super profitable. That's why they do these things. Completely different. Cool. I won't forget to pay you when I'm wrong. I wouldn't take your money. So it's over an hour. I just wanted to talk about some of the things that happen with Forza Horizon. It's a great game. I'll probably play it again on PlayStation 5 if they update it, if they give it some sort of a dual sense, dual sense features on the controller. I was going to say dual shock. But I would not bet on the next Xbox hardware being super successful. And it's a spooky time when it comes to Xbox. Get Lost Games, you will get it if I am wrong. It's a bet. No, I don't take money off people. I have enough money, brother. I'm good. I will too. I like Forza. It's fun. Forza is a great game. Yeah. Yeah. So check it out on PlayStation 5. Let me know what you think in the comment section about this stream. Thank you two guys for popping in here and asking questions. I appreciate that. And I'll do it again sometime. Hopefully I can get this going a bit more. Maybe invite some people in. Maybe get a better camera. I'm just using the camera from the laptop. And we'll see what we can do. So thanks for coming. Thanks for tuning in. See you.